I just want to say before this video begins, make sure to go say hi to my friend Traveler, who streams daily. Link will be in the description below. So, we begin. To start, we go back to an unknown time and a whole different plane of existence. A different species, the lore community calls the Allens. These Allens either create or stumble upon the Namvi virus as well as the Parasitidae Garganta. This would wipe out almost all of the Allens, causing them to flee their planet. However, before their shuttle could leave their planet, the virus and parasite managed to get aboard the space vessel. During travel, somehow, someway, they get teleported and end up in our universe and crash land onto Earth and are the same meteor that killed the dinosaurs so many years ago. When the ship crashed, the virus, the parasites, and the Allens would be stuck inside of the ship, and over time the virus and parasites would feed on the dead crew. Over the years following, local people, the Mayans, would experience earthquakes, and when this would happen, parasites and the virus would break free and wreak havoc on the communities. These outbreaks of the virus and parasite would be called the flea demons. The Mayans were eventually wiped out, and the virus and parasites would retreat back into the spaceship. Now we fast forward to 2049. A 9.8 magnitude earthquake would hit the area of Murta, Mexico, on the Yucatan Peninsula. The earthquake would leave behind a 1.3 mile wide sinkhole, 73 meters deep, and expose a huge vein of iridium. This iridium attracted the attention of SMC, or San Antonio Mining Company. Iridium is very valuable to San Antonio Mining Company as it is part of a new technology that creates hard drives that are able to store up to 5 petabytes worth of storage. The sinkhole would then be privatized by the Mexican government and sold to San Antonio Mining Company. They would also survey the location of the sinkhole and find a mass underneath the sinkhole that is 1.5 to 2,000 miles wide and almost 4,000 miles down that is full of iridium. The mass would be named Vena. After this, SMC would begin the construction of the complex. The walls would be laid on August 15th, 2050, and drilling would begin in the weeks following. During the mining process, a large basalt mass would be discovered, so the mining team would plan a detour. As the detour began, the team broke into an unexpected area of nothing, a large open chamber extending 43 meters north and 27 meters at its widest point and up to 15 meters high. The geologists would then study the area, and it would be found out that somebody or something cleared out this area for a specific reason, and it is unknown why. The exploration team would find several artifacts and would be given to the research department of SMC for experimentation. Analysis would be done by Dr. Gallus Hammerstein and Dr. Richtofer, and the artifacts would be dubbed the Hammerstein Collection. What a douche. During these tests, the scientists would try to crush them with a big hydraulic press, because I guess that's what scientists do. The press would fail to crush the objects, so Dr. Richtofer tried to manually jam the artifact into the presser even harder. It would cause the press to malfunction and cut out his eye. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We also learned during this time that these two mongoloids should have been wearing quarantine gear, but guess what? They weren't wearing it. They would then contract flu-like symptoms for the following weeks. A different, less dumb, research team would then take the chemical makeup of the artifacts and use laser tools to cut them open. They would then find out the artifacts were extraterrestrial in origin, composed of an alloy that is made up of 3.3% iridium and 38.6% acreticium, being dubbed Creticium-77A. Drilling would be complete and they would have reached the depth of 1,500 meters. The research division, with the help of Kovac Defense Services, or KDS, would go ahead and start drilling into La Vena. They would find hallways and tunnels and begin to explore them, naming this area of La Vena the Inner. Sometime after this, people began doing the no breathing challenge and winning at it, which caused medical staff to turn their attention to the psychological evaluation of all the mining crew. But because of this breathing challenge, all the medical team would be focused and giving all their undivided attention onto that. Meanwhile, the Namvi virus would spread from Dr. Nimrod and Dr. Troglodyte. The medical team would then see the large amount of cases that showed up, and the flu would be dubbed the Garganta flu. Sometime during this, a San Antonian staff member named Edgar Soweto would be walking through the halls of the Inner. He would stumble upon a creature, which, quote-unquote, came from the shadows and materialized from them. And this would possibly be a shadow sleeper, which we see in the game that is the darkness. Meanwhile, on the surface, the NAMV virus would spread through Florida and begin a global-wide pandemic. It would rapidly spread across the world, and the CDC would name it the most infectious disease in human history with no known cure or treatment. After more and more miners would succumb to the NAMV virus, KDS would initiate lockdown procedures on the mines to prepare for the worst, and the biotractors KDS were using would notice an unknown biomass at sublevels 266 and below. Right after this, Europe would shut down borders and begin countrywide isolation. Some parts of the San Antonian research team would then begin to study the NAMV virus and Gargantian parasite. It would then finally get the official name of Parasitidae Garganta. Of course, before this, I want to mention that Dr. Nimrod Hammerstein tried to name these parasites Hammerstein Parasitidae. Like, what the hell? Anyways, during this, NATO would collapse, all of the countries in the world going into nationwide isolation to try and stop the spread of the virus from getting too far. Some of the research on the virus and parasites would be done by Dr. Abo Dauda, a medical doctor from Chad. He would begin to conduct experiments on the virus inside the research division, and they would find out that the virus and parasite are extraterrestrial. They also found out that the virus could just be transmitted no matter what. However, the parasites were the reason that some of their miners were beginning to evolve into a different sort of life form. These new life forms would be nicknamed sleepers. These sleepers could then mutate to however the parasite needed, whether, for example, they needed a scout. A scout is a sleeper that acts like a sentry. It's usually got either an area that is for sleepers being able to sleep and not be disturbed, or unknown reasons. But the scout is there to guard those sleepers or whatever it's guarding, and if it is awoken, it will alert any of the sleepers nearby, as well as calling in reinforcements from an unknown area. It's easier to think of the different jobs of sleepers if you think of the military. The regular sleepers are just the infantry, the cannon fodder. Then there are the scouts. The scouts are the guardsmen in the outposts of the base, making sure that nobody can break in and alert people if somebody's going to break in. Then there are the big guys, or the giant sleepers that do a lot of damage. Those are the tanks, as you will. Then there would be the Chargers, which would be some sort of elite combat special forces unit, and there are also the Shadows, which are your stealth units of sorts. Then you have other beasts like the Mothers, or the Fathers, or the Grabbers. Those would be, your lieutenant colonels, your majors, your high-ranking military officials who command the sleepers. And with that, we become fully updated with all of the lore we have on the NAMV and Parasitidae Garganta. This is all the lore we have up to R7. Maybe we'll find out more news when R8 or Alt R2 comes out, but if anything's updated, I'll make a part 2. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.